Well, many thanks for joining us on BloombergQuint at a time when Twitter is facing backlash in India over misinformation and national security concern. A startup, a homegrown startup in India, has been slowly able or aggressively able to ramp up its user base in India, and most recently raised about $30 million in a fresh round of funding led by Tiger Global. To talk more about the startup, joining me, Aparamaya Radhakrishna, a serial entrepreneur and a founder of Koo. Aparamaya, thank you so much for your time and speaking to BloombergQuint.
Thank you for having me.
6 million users so far, more than 30 million in fundraise. That has happened in the last 1 year. And the user base mostly has come up in the last couple of months, maybe 3-4 months. What do you think? Is this kind of growth sustainable for you?
Yeah, so if you look at why we started because most people who don't know English, which is 95% of India, prefer other languages other than English. Today don't have a way to express their daily thoughts on the internet. So the very fact that there are 650 million more users who use the internet in India, and most of them don't use existing products for expression of daily thoughts, that itself gives a lot of headroom for us to grow. Right? So our focus is on enabling the voices of India in all languages, right from English, the English-speaking audience, to all other languages. They should be able to freely come and express themselves on the internet. So 6 million is just starting. So, if you're looking at 650 million overall users, it's 1%.
We've also established that you have about 6 million users on the platform. What about active user base that are using or contributing on the platform on a daily or a monthly basis actively? What languages are they conversing in? Any interesting trends that you have seen in your, a short journey of a year?
Yeah, we are a 1-year-old company, 6 million downloads, more of it in the last 3 months. Tremendous traction. We have more than around half of that number coming and using us on a monthly basis in some way or the other. So I think, we've got a lot of initial love for a 1-year-old product, which has a long list of items to put together, even on the product. So everything looks very promising. We are really aggressively hiring and getting people on board so that we can live up to these expectations. Because when we put out a product from India, we want it to be international standards. We want other countries to also want to use it at some stage. So our efforts are in that direction. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of things that we want to do. Just putting the team together, and the $30 million raise right now will really help us go a long way with that.
Give me stats in terms of the language they are mostly likely to converse on Koo.
So, as I said, we're at the very, very beginning of our journey. Less than 1% of the total addressable market. So, our main languages today are Hindi and English, followed by Kannada, Telugu, Marathi, Bengali. Right. So these languages will keep growing. We're adding all the 22 official languages of India by year end. And each language will start thriving based on the internet comfort of internet usage in each language community, right? So it's about keep working on the product, keep being there for people to express themselves, encourage them to come and talk about things every day, and you will see all these communities thriving over the next year or so.
And Twitter already does that, right? You have an option to write in at least multiple regional language in India yet. Going ahead, there'll be a fierce competition amongst you two. The challenge will be to stand out. And another challenge will also be to how do you take on issues like freedom of speech, hate speech on the platform. Those have started to come out into questions already.
Yeah. No, so we have a very simple way of dealing with it. We are a technology company registered in India. We're based in India. Like any other company which is based in India, there are always a set of rules. E-commerce companies have rules. Cab guys have rules. Everybody has rules, right? Like social media is one thing that has never been localized. It's been a global phenomenon, right? When it is a local locally focused social media, I think it's very important to have a set of rules to curtail the rogue elements. We have traffic rules, right? If there were no traffic rules, you can imagine what happens, right? If nobody followed the red signal, simple rules which basically makes driving safe for everybody. Similarly, simple rules to make social media usage safe for everyone. I think that's broadly what it is. And if there are guidelines, if there are people who are creating all kinds of content, like for example, child pornography or anything else that is absolutely not welcome on the platform, those will be removed right away, right? There will be always gray areas. The gray areas are the things that we are not as a platform going to be taking calls. There are systems outside, just like in the offline world. If you're going to say something on a stage in front of thousands of people, and if somebody gets offended by it, they will go and complain to the relevant authority, right? Similarly, if somebody gets offended by what is being said on coup, they should go and complain to the relevant authority, and the authority will take a decision on what needs to be done because somebody said that, right? And if it is against the law, I'm sure we will get a circular saying, this is against the law. Please take this down according to the Constitution of India, according to the legal framework, right? And when you get, as an India registered company, when you get something like that, you will first comply, right? And in the long run, social media will be built with three pillars, right? The three pillars are the users first, the platform itself, and the government, which is the elected representative of that country, right? All three will discuss and figure out the best way for social media to be used by the users. The users always triumph. Freedom of expression always triumphs, but we don't want the guy breaking the red signal to be all over the place, right? Without being caught.
I think that's the gray area where not just social platforms in India, but globally as well are grappling with. But there's also concern how much control a government should have on social media platform and dictating what is right and wrong. And then there's a thin line of freedom of expression. That's a challenge, not just players in India are facing, but companies outside globally are also facing with. And there's a backlash against companies who follow what the governments are saying to take down posts. That'll be a challenge for you, right? To take those calls, what to follow and what not to.
So, whether it's the platform itself or the government, nobody wants to piss off the user, right? At the end of it, I definitely don't want to. Like, who will never be against a user? If the user themselves are against the law of the land, then the law of the land will tell us what to do, right? Now, for a normal user, this is of no problem at all. Like, the guys who are following the traffic rules can just drive their car or ride their bike aramse, right? Nobody's going to interfere with their lives. The guys who are rogue, right, are the ones who will be caught.
So you have a mechanism in place to identify what is allowed on the platform, what is not allowed on the platform. You can't just follow what the government says, right? If government asks you to next day to take down few tweets, you can't do that. So you'll have to set a certain set of policies to call on those.
We have our own community guidelines. It's already public on our website and very clear on what we feel is allowed on the platform. We're probably the only social media company on our create page which says a small little text called "Be respectful," right? It starts from there, right? If 10 people go to that page and they were about to write something nasty, even if 3 people stop because they read "Be respectful" or tone down the way they said it, that goes a long way, right? So we're not saying that, so as a company, we will keep learning through our machines what is objectionable and what is not objectionable by the law of the land, right? That's what we're going to learn. See, we're not elected representatives. There is an elected representative who will make the law, and then there is a judiciary which will say whether what is being executed is right or wrong. We as a platform can only enable that, right? So saying that a technology platform is the guy who is, responsible for upholding anything of the land is actually giving too much power to that technology platform, right? I don't want that power. Like, people will, if I take a judgment on something, people will say, who are you to take that judgment? How did I give you that power? Just because you started a company, you take that power. So I don't want that, right? That's why we will, whichever country we go to, we will align to what that country feels is good for their citizens. And we are the technology platform enabling it. Now, if you have questions around how they do it, what they do, it is not a question to the platform. It is a question to that particular way of governing, right? So India actually has a lot of freedom of expression. What we are trying to do is make sure that the rogue elements are identified as a platform as per whatever is required. Right? We will use machine learning. We will listen to user feedback on coups. We will also take a note of all notices that are sent to us and take relevant action as per the regulatory body. And I think that's being responsible.
So, Pramaya, what policies are in place to monitor hate speeches on the platform? That's been a big concern for players.
Yeah. So we depend on there's way of reporting, there's way of blocking people. We also make sure that we have our machine learning tools learning on top of valid reports that have already been taken action on. We are also constituting an advisory board which will help us navigate and take the right calls on gray areas. Right. So I think the intent is to make social media a safe place. Just like when you're walking on the road, you don't want people to be mugging you and harassing you. Even online, you don't want people to be harassing you and doing whatever or saying whatever. Right? I think it's very important to make social media a safe place, and that's what we are doing.
Who will be these people on the advisory board?
So we're constituting that as we speak. And also whenever we do constitute it formally, I think we would also want it to be anonymous because we don't want unnecessary pressure on the guys who actually come on board to advise us. So that's also a call that we take.
Fair enough. What about monetization? How do you aim to monetize this?
Right now, all focus on product development and user acquisition. At some stage, we will start monetizing. We will look at various very localized ideas of how to monetize. And also, we will look at a quirky way of doing advertising as well. So all these thoughts are there in our minds. We'll have to run those experiments to see which one works, which one doesn't. But yeah, so once you have a very active user base, I think, making sure that you earn enough to keep growing the business is something that we will focus on at the right time.
And that'll perhaps be my last question also. What do you think will drive your growth going ahead? The trend that you have seen basically right now, you have been able to grow on the backdrop of a good influencer base. Both politicians, celebrities have vouched for Coup, and also on what's happening with Twitter that has worked well in your favor. But going ahead, what is going to drive your growth and maintain this momentum?
I think our growth is a lot to do with word of mouth. I think if you can really up the game and give a lot of localized features for expression and consuming relevant content, I think people will be very happy because the context of local discussions is not there anywhere on the internet today. That is a missing piece. Local language, local discussions are absent on the internet. That is the space we will fill. Right? And if we fill it right, we are the guys who will take that market.
Right. It's pleasure engaging conversation, Apramaya. Wishing you all the best. And thanks a lot for taking our time and speaking to BloombergQuint.
Thank you so much.